Okay then, so now without further delay, I am going to turn this over to the fabulous Pardees. Yeah, Pardees, thank you for joining us. I'm going to let you take it from here.
Awesome, thanks for having me. Hello, everybody. I wish I could hear you all, but I can't. So we'll just keep going and don't mind me talking to myself.
Well, imagine, I'll be your laugh track.
Yes, please do. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep, it is coming through.
All right, perfect. We are here. So again, for everyone who came this morning, thank you for still hanging on to this afternoon. For everyone who's just joining us for the afternoon, awesome. I'm glad I'm here to join it with you. So we're going to talk today about how to get more conversions without increasing your web traffic. So if this is what you want it to be, good job, you're here. If you're in the wrong room, you may leave or stay. I'm pretty fine. I'll make this as fun as possible.
Definitely stay. She's entertaining. You'll love it.
I'll try. Before we get started, I just wanted to let you know a little bit about me. I started Albaloo. This is our first event where I'm out in the world with this new brand out there. So thank you, Steph, for the opportunity. We started out as a consultancy where I quit my job in September. I decided to just go full out myself independent, see what would happen. Grew really fast, which is really cool. We are now a 10-person digital marketing agency that allows you to do anything from figuring out how to launch your first product all the way to accelerating and scaling your company. We specialize in putting together multi-channel campaigns. We go across all marketing disciplines and have a lot of awesome senior people on the team to help me out. So that's about us, and we're very startup friendly with our pricing. Great. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. I've been in the startup world for about 10 years now. I started out with Greenhorn Boston, for anyone who remembers that. I was doing social media at the time. What happened was that I did a lot of great social campaigns, and then people would bounce out from my campaigns on the website. And I was like, why? What is going on? So that got me really into website conversions. I worked at IBM. I joined 2 venture-backed startups, one as their first strategic digital marketing hire at CloudHealth Technologies. I was the 30th person on the team there. When I left, we're at about 300 people. I hired about 100 of them. That was fun. Then I went to Evergage, where they wanted me to help them out with their B2B side, where all their customers kept churning. It was like a marketing technology company for website conversions. And they're like, how do we make this work? So I joined them for about 2.5 years and figured that out. They got acquired by Salesforce. So I'm 2 for 2 for venture-funded companies, which makes me feel really good. And my methodologies usually increase your leads by at least 500%, if not 1,000%, if not something. So I'm sure you're all going to learn something today. I'm really excited to talk to you. Let's make this as interactive as possible. So feel free to chat the whole time. Steph is going to be on board there and managing all of that. So now let's learn a little bit about you. Feel free to drop in your networking channels in the chat right now. Just a pro tip, make sure you're sending it out to all panelists and attendees, or else only Steph and I will get it. And Steph, if you can kick off a couple polls, because I just want to get to know where everyone's at with their digital marketing initiatives right now.
You got it. So I am launching a poll right now about you. It has 3 questions. So I'll give people a little bit longer to respond, but not too much. Lately, I've only been giving people like 30 seconds, but that was for like 1 question.
Yeah.
I do like it though when I do the countdown at the end and you just see all of them come through like so fast. And you're like, yes, everyone's doing it.
Yeah, do it now. Do it quickly. Tell us all about you.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't see the chat, but I hope people are networking. Oh, I see something. Good.
Some people
if you don't network, it's your fault.
Well, right now you need to fill out the poll, but then after you should totally go and, you know, fill that out.
Yeah, drop that profile.
And Lillian, the question for the poll, the last question is each month, not each day, each month. So if that got cut off on your end, month is the way to go. All right, guys, that countdown's going to start pretty soon. I've been generous. I've given you a minute. So we are going to close the poll here in 3, 2, all right, and 1. I gave you an extra second. All right, I'm going to share the results. Pardees, if you can't see the results, just let me know.
Yeah, I can see the results. So it looks like a lot of people have at least 1 form on their website. So good job, everybody. And a couple of people have ungated content. That's great. And then email subscribers, less than 100, which is fine, is most of it. But a lot of people actually do have more than 100, more than 1,000. Damn, There's 9 people with more than 1,000. High fives for you guys. I actually have a few things that we can do just for you in this presentation. And then how many website visits we get? You get, you know, it's about across the gamut, about less than 100 and from 100 to 2,000. And a couple of people more than 5,000 and from 2,000 to 5,000. That is awesome. So good work, everybody. This is actually a lot more advanced than I thought it would be, but I have advanced content, so we are good. So the other thing I'm going to let you guys know as we get started is I do have 3 slides of just resources that's at the end of this deck that you're not going to see today, but we can send it out afterwards. I'm going to just throw a bunch of things at you. There's about 7,000 different marketing technologies out there, and there's no way we can cover any of them, all of them, and you know, the entirety of anything. So I'm just going to focus more on like frameworks and how things get done. I'm also not going to go through the technical aspects of how to get it done because that's like a whole other conversation for another day. But feel free to send your other questions. If you have more time, we can get more into the nitty gritty. So I just want to start from the beginning. What is web optimization? And the way that I like to define it is that it's just an opportunity for you to speak clearer to each member of your audience. That really depends on, you know, who you are, who they are, and how you guys can help each other. And so I see optimization in 5 separate steps. And it's kind of like a cycle that never stops. So the first one is I like to de-anonymize the traffic, which we're going to get through. But basically, you need a way to tell who's who when they're coming to your site so you can figure out what they want and when they want it. Then we actually like do a bunch of the optimization techniques. And we're going to talk about different ways of measuring and looking at things and what's like the best way for you to make sure that people are staying on your site and they're finding what they need on your site. Then we're going to experiment, which is one of my favorite topics, to talk about A/B testing. And what's the best ways to figure out what's actually working for you and what can move the needle further. Then we're going to re-engage people. So, you know, everyone who has those email subscribers or, you know, all the web traffic, there's ways to stay in front of them as you keep going. And then the last one, this is the most advanced topic, is personalization. And that's basically figuring out how to change your entire experience so each person gets their own version of your entire website. So these are the things that we're going to need to get started. They're like basically the building blocks of what we're doing. One is like some sort of marketing automation tool. If a lot of you have forms on your website, then you probably have something that you're using. So basically, I like to do the marketing automation to have the form on the website, send the email campaigns out. If you get more advanced, you can connect it to your CRM and, you know, other advertising networks, and we'll get into that later. Then a tag manager. The reason why I like using a tag manager is because you can add a lot of products easily to your website without having to go into the code and add an entirely new spot every time and going to whoever manages your website to do that. It also is a bit safer because if you accidentally forget like a bracket or a line of code and something's not copied properly, it's not going to bring your entire website down. So that's when, you know, I love the tag managers for that aspect of things. And then some sort of A/B testing tool so we can actually run these experiments and tests and see how things are going. And then also analytics. So we can actually measure, are we actually moving the audience forward? Or is the needle moving forward? Am I getting the right return on investment on my campaigns?
So a quick question for you, Pardees. So for this slide, when you just went through kind of like the tools people need, is there any like free tool people can use? Because I know a lot of people here are probably on a startup budget like myself.
Oh yeah, I got some things for you. So I have like 2 versions of things. I call them the free stack because like for marketing stacks, I like call it the same I do as like tech stacks. We have like your MarTech stack, and I also have the freemium stack that we'll get to in a second. So the free stack is cool because it's always free. There's some cons that you can get to it. It's not going to be scalable as you go forward because a lot of the free tiers don't really have the more advanced things that you'll need, but it's a good way to get started. And then you'll probably have to migrate to a new tool when you grow. So that's always the thing that you think about when you implement a new marketing technology, like a CRM or marketing automation tool, is that, you know, what is going to be the pain when I have to move off of it? And is it okay? Like, you know, if you're going to move, if you're planning on growing fast, like you're venture funded, and okay, we're going to get from like 10 people to like 200 people in like a year, then you probably don't want the free stack. But if you're like more of a bootstrap like myself and Steph, and you're kind of like moving things along, you're like, oh, maybe in 3 years I'll have to get on a new tool. That's fine. You know, so just think about that in your investment strategy and growth strategy as you do this. The free stack, Google Tag Manager is great for the tag managing. aspect of things is actually really usable, really fun. They have really great documentation. It's funded by Google, so you know it's great. And then Google Analytics is always my go-to analytics tool, no matter what stage I'm at. I love Google Analytics, and we had a really good session this morning on it. Hopefully you can watch the recording if you haven't gotten into it or didn't see it today. And then Google Optimize. Google, I love Google. So the Optimize is their A/B testing tool. It looks like it's gone much better than the last time I used it. I used it like maybe 6 years ago because I have my freemium stack that I use now. But it will basically allow you to like change parts of your website, whether it's like the headline, the button on each web page, and then run those tests and figure out which one's the best version of it. And then there's Mautic, or Mautic, sorry, I said it like European with a T.
I was expecting Google again, so.
Yeah, right? No, they actually haven't gone into the marketing automation space yet, which is interesting. So Mautic got acquired by Acquia, and they are an open source marketing automation platform, which is like fully free. I think it's better now that Acquia owns it, but I haven't actually had time to dig into it too much to know how much better it's gotten since their acquisition. And then from like a hosted perspective of a content management system, never like put your website on like a full like pure HTML for the love of God, for the love of your marketing people and whoever else will ever work with you. Use a CMS system. It's much better and easier as you grow. WordPress is really good for the B2B, and I put Magento in there for the B2C. That got acquired by Adobe, which I didn't know. So they're probably also really well supported and have really good audiences for you to go to. That is what I call the free stack. Now we're going to call it a freemium stack because we're SaaS companies and we're startup people and we love freemium models. So the thing I like about the freemium stack is that it can scale with you. The bad thing is that some of them have really limited functionality to start with. And so sometimes you have to get a little creative to connect all the tools together as you grow out. And you can kind of have like, I almost like have a spreadsheet. I'm like, okay, like each stage of the business, this is what I'm using for each thing. And then this is how I'm going to connect them all together. I have connectors like Zapier or if this and that, and their Intray.io are pretty good ones. And they're all going to be mentioned in the resources link at the bottom. So don't worry about it not being there. So anyways, freemium stack, Google Tag Manager is still a good bet. No matter what, I love Google. Google Analytics still a really good bet too. I like using Crazy Egg for A/B testing because they have they do the recordings on it and they have the heat mapping part and they do A/B testing all in one, and it starts at $9 a month. So even if you think like, I don't want to spend that much money towards it, it's actually not too terrible. Then I like HubSpot both for CRM and marketing automation. And this is what I'm talking about for limited functionality to start, because if you get the free version of everything, you basically can't have landing pages and you can't do like email nurture campaigns. So I like to connect my HubSpot to my MailChimp to do all that part because MailChimp has a cheaper premium stack. And it's kind of funny, but they've actually gotten much better than what they were about 10 years ago. And they've gotten to like a full-on like marketing automation platform now, which is great. And then for the CMS systems, I like WordPress still for B2B. Shopify is really great for B2C because they just have the templates for you and they have like a really big community for you to get going. And you don't have to like really worry about knowing the flow of a website or like knowing how everything works exactly to like get yourself up and running. Again, you want your technology to enable you and not to bog you down. Just keep that in mind as you figure out what toolset you should be using. All right, so now we're going to get into the nitty gritty and all the nuts and bolts of everything. So we're going to start with de-anonymizing data. And the basic thing is that if you just don't think about de-anonymizing your data and you're just like, oh, I have website visitors, your graph is going to look like this. It's going to be like, oh, web traffic, people, cool. And so you're not going to really know why something's working and why something isn't working if it's just an amorphous blob of people coming to your website. So even if you just do a simple thing where you're just like, oh, let me look at my website visitors by referring link and how they're coming to your site. Now it's like, oh, we have like different groups of people we can talk to. There's people that come direct versus those who come organic and those who see us on paid advertising and those that see us on social media. And some of these different people all have a different way of looking at the site and they're all here for a different reason. And so we're just going to work to better understand these people and then figure out what's the best experience we can give to them so they have the best time on the website and they actually want to keep coming back to us. And so what I like to do is like use different signals to like figure out what the intent of the audience is. So the most basic one they can easily do is UTM parameters. Google has a really good UTM builder if you want to Google that. I say Google so many times, but it's like really great because
so much
you
Google.
So much Google.
But if you, event.
Yeah, you should. We should have just sponsored them for money. Okay, we're gonna say your name 50 times today. Just give us money. But you know what you really want is like, all right, if you have like an email link, you want to figure out like, was it a newsletter or a nurture email that came? If it's on LinkedIn, is it a blog? Is it an ebook? Is it a white paper? Like you can use more to like of those UTM parameters to like get more information about what's bringing and driving people over to your website. And also if you have a lot of like guest blogging, like we're talking about in the content that closes, then you want to be able to have a UTM parameter like per link so you actually know what people are clicking on and why they're coming to your site. Then your blogs, you know, what is the part of the blog as people are reading? The good thing about like WordPress and, you know, again, I'm going to keep quoting Javon right now when he was talking about all the different like reasons, like don't be on Medium because you want to have that information of like, what are people using? And the good thing I like about a lot of these content management systems is that they have categories built in place for you already. So you can just tell like, oh, is someone looking at like my sales category or my marketing category? Or are they looking at my sandals versus my sneakers if I'm more of like a D2C brand? And then social media, it's like, what are the posts that are bringing them in? And like, what are the channels that are really driving people? Is it TikTok now? Ooh, I don't know. Is it Instagram? Is it LinkedIn? Is it, you know, like, where is everyone coming from? And then based on that, you can kind of infer who those people are just based on the personalities of who is attracted to each brand and each platform for social media. This one's here for my B2B people in the house. It doesn't work so well for COVID because everyone's working from home. But back in the day when everyone was back in their offices and they all had their office IP addresses they were part of, if they came to your website during it, you could use something like Demandbase or Drift, and they can actually tell what company they're coming from based on the IP address of the internet access that they had when they're on your site. Again, not so good in COVID, but once we get back to real life in the next year or two, hopefully, then we'll have this again. And then behavioral tracking is one of my favorite things. So you can look at like, are there certain button clicks that are very important in the site? Like, is there a navigation that people are clicking on the most? Like, where are they spending most of their time? Is it on the sandals? Is it on evening gowns? Is it on things for engineering or CTOs or developers? And you can figure out like, okay, these people care most about this like specific content. I should show them more of that. Basically how you can think about that. And then chatbots and surveying, I love because they're really good ways of learning more about someone when they're not really ready to give you like their full information. It's almost like you're starting like a friendship or a relationship with someone. Like you don't tell them your deepest, darkest secrets on the first date or time you hang out with them. And same thing with a website. Like I'm not going to give you my email address and my phone number like when I first met you, but if you ask me what I'm interested in, I might be more willing to tell you that. You can kind of like build someone's profile over time and use that to figure out, you know, what are they doing? Are they actually finding what they need? And what can I do to make this experience better for them? And then the holy grail of the forums, the giveaways, the contests, and subscriptions. I have resources in all of this for you soon. But you basically want to make engaging reasons of why people want to subscribe to you. So maybe you just start with an email subscription and then have another form that's like 1 or 2 different form fields and then build on that, or do like a fun giveaway. I see like there's a cool like spinners that are out there like Optin Monster made. Again, this is in the resources, but you can like spin the wheel and you get like your own discount code depending on what it landed on. Like there's gonna be like some cool things like that that can work out that make people actually want to engage because they're like, ooh, maybe I can get up to 90% off. You know, even if they get 10% off, maybe they still want to buy from you, and you were able to get them that email address to give it to them. And they now know you and you can now send them emails. Yay, got you people. And so it's basically different ways of like getting people and engaging with them and making them want to stay with you forever. Seb, I think we had a question right now.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna bring in Jacqueline, or Jacqueline, I'm so sorry if I butchered your name, but let me buzz her in here for a moment. Give her a second to kind of join. I need to get better at pronouncing names in the future. I feel like all my words are also blending together though this afternoon as the days progressed. So let's give her another second. If it doesn't come through, then I will ask the question on her behalf, but we'll give her 1 more minute. And Jacqueline, let me know when you can hear us.
I can hear you, but I'm not sure if you can see or hear me. You can?
We can see and hear you. Awesome. The stage is yours. Please take it from here.
Fantastic. Hi, everybody. I'm Jacqueline, the founder of Portico Travel. Thank you, Pardees, for this. This is incredibly helpful. And Steph, I know you put a ton of energy and effort in today, so thank you for organizing everything today. 2 seconds on Portico. So we're your travel buddy that keeps everything you and your friends need for your trip in one place. So we're actually trying to get rid of Google because those spreadsheets used for planning travel are really time consuming and complicated. We want to make it much easier for you to save all your ideas, share your recommendations with friends and stuff when you're back. So Pardees, I was curious as you go through this, particularly as kind of early stage companies where we don't have in-house expertise, are there any great tools to help us assess our performance on our sites to see how good of a job we're doing at some of these things you're talking about?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to talk about a few things here. And was it Jacqueline or Jacqueline? Did we ever figure it?
It's Sorry. It's Jacqueline or Jack, either way. If you want short,
Jack.
You can go.
All right. Jack, got it. All right. So can you hang on with us as I talk through this and make sure I answer your question? All right, sweet. So the first thing I want to go through is optimization best practices. And these are just things that to keep in mind as you build your website and as it grows over time, like why people might be leaving right away. So the first thing, I have to click back here, is your page load speed. So if it takes too long for your page to load, more than likely people are going to leave. The main thing that you want to think about is that if it's like more than 2 seconds, or even if you're looking at other websites and you're on it and it's like waiting forever, you're like, oh, are you going to stay? Probably not. Will your users stay on your website then? Probably not either. And the way that I like to look at it is like make sure that your images are like of the right size. Like you don't have a huge image that's like 5,000 pixels by 2,000 pixels, and then you've like whittled it down to like 200 by 200. There's a lot of like really good tools out there too. Oh, I should add this actually to the resources. Is like font awesome icons, anything that can be delivered over like a content delivery network. A lot of these are free. It will actually speed up your site because you don't have to load everything on your site. It just goes to another place to like fetch it for you.
Okay.
My other favorite thing to look at page load is Pingdom. This is a free tool that basically shows you how each thing on your website appears and like how fast it loads. It'll actually like flag what's taking it the longest to load. And it gives you like an entire report to work through. It's very easy to work it through and it's free, which is awesome. And then I also will say like set multiple goals in your Google Analytics. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are like, oh, I want people to come to my website and then I want them to buy. I'm like, okay, cool, but like not like very few people will come to your website and buy on the first day. So like what are like the mini conversions, like the mini events that you can have in your website to like show that they're interested in you and that you can like actually slowly build up the profile of what you know about them. So that, okay, they come to the homepage to read some blogs. Maybe after they've read 2 blogs, you ask them to subscribe to it and you just ask for an email address. And then you have the email address where you can email them over and over and over again. I would say the road to an email address is like your most important road to take because once you have the audience, you know who they are, there's so much more that you can do with them. You also want to set clear forms and like calls to actions at the top of your lead generation pages. So the way that I like to think about this, and our content people earlier did a really good job of explaining it, but you want to start with like a main page, and then the main page goes into like a more detailed page. And then after the more detailed page, you want to give them a reason why they should actually give you their email address or subscribe or do something. And so you want to take them to a clear page that says, okay, here's like an ebook, or here is a like coupon, or here is, something that's good enough to like give it to them for free that they'll actually give you that exchange for the email address for. Then you also want to make sure you're optimized for mobile. Everyone is on mobile now, especially with like Instagram coming up and like the LinkedIn mobile app. These mobile like apps now have their own mobile web browsers too, which makes it even more annoying. So you just want to make sure that like mobile is well optimized. You can scroll through it and it's not like you don't have to like go to the right to see the rest of your content. Your page isn't like super long. There's like easy links to like jump from page to page. I've seen it all. It's sad and I get angry still. It's 2020, people. Mobile optimization is a thing now. I like using Browser Stack. I think they have a free trial version, and I cheat all the time with like Adobe and these like Browser Stack type things where I just keep creating new email addresses. And I sign up for like a 14-day free trial and I do everything I need in like 14 days and then I log off again. And then I'll make a new email later for it. You can use like Proton Mail, or if you just Google like like email address or like one-time use, then you'll take like see all these tools that are out there, and they'll give you like a really quick email to use that like works in the browser, and then once you're done with it, you can just like throw it out. It's pretty fun, and you can get a bunch of free trials.
Cool.
Maybe, yeah, that's really fun. And then also like connect your content and your resources together. So if I'm reading about like one thing about how I should like organize my trip, then I should also be connected to like every blog that's on that page that you have on that topic. So I don't have to go anywhere else to learn more about it. I think Jabron was talking about that with the content and tiller pages, and I know Shannon also went through that in her presentation about how to architect your site to make sure that everything's like interlinking together. All right, so that's step one. Step two is like all the key performance indicators that I have. Okay, this is gonna get really intense. I'm really sorry, but there's like no other way for me to explain this to everybody. So hold on to your hats. And it's just like basically like web analytics like 201. So what I like to start with is like each tactic on the left-hand side, and I like to break it down by audience level. If you're a startup company who's just starting, you should have one clearly defined audience, and like everyone who's a woman and everyone who's a man doesn't count. What I like about Eileen's presentation of the paid advertising is she actually showed you how a demographic should be built, which is like age, like 18 to like 35, like likes, interests, like, you know, what's the profile of the person that you want to find. And I like testing it out with like Facebook and Instagram ads, where even if you don't pay for the ad, you can just basically make an advertising account and just put together like all the profiles and demographics of someone, and it'll show you like how many people fall into that and like how big that audience actually is. And that's what I use, you know, when I'm like trying to figure out like, oh, does this make sense as an audience to go after? Generally, you want it to be like more than 1 million, but like less than like 5 million people, because then it gets too specific or it gets like too broad and you're just talking to everybody. If you're a larger company, then, you know, feel free to have more than one audience. If you're a startup company, one audience is only allowed.
And then real
so
quick,
Pardees,
yeah, interrupt real quick. I don't want to leave Jack hanging there. Like, Jack, do you have any other questions before I kind of pop you off to the attendees? Sorry to interrupt you, Pardees.
I'm good.
I want to make sure.
She's answered a lot of it, and she's continuing to do it, so I'm all set.
Okay, good.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure she like got her question answered. Of course. Cool. So as Jackie hops out here, we're going to go after this. So the first thing I like to look at is like anything like is coming in, like ads, traffic, referral traffic, organic search. You can look at which audiences you want to build towards that. And then I look at like, what are the key performance indicators? Is it impressions, is it click-through rates, you know, subscriber and lead purchasers? And I break it all down by that. And then I'll do like a further breakdown if you want to get more specific. And actually show like the specific ad network, like what stage is the person in, what are the main keywords, like what are the actual referrals coming in. I like to start like super broad and just like as like a heartbeat, like, oh, are my ads working? Are they like getting impressions? Are people clicking on them? Are people actually signing up and like becoming leads or purchasing? And then afterwards, it's like, okay, now let's see what's actually driving each thing. So if you're a person who's like on a team of marketers, or you like you report to like the CEO or the CTO, you want to basically show them the top level stuff because they never care about the breakdown. But if you're doing the actual work yourself, you actually care about the breakdown. So I always do the breakdown for me. Then you want to look at your landing pages, which is like the next big thing. You know, after the ads, it's like, okay, are people actually staying on the landing page? Like, what's the bounce rate for it? How far down are they scrolling down? Are they actually clicking on the CT or no? Are they like becoming a lead or making a purchase off of that? And I also like to break, if you have a ton of landing pages, if you're like really advanced, you might have like 50 to 100 landing pages per all these ad networks and things that you're doing. If you're done that reason, I'll group them and be like, let's group by topic. But if you're like only have like 5 or 6, as most startup companies do, then just like list all the landing pages out and just see like how well are they actually performing. Then next I want to do subscribers. So these are people that you only have an email address for. They've never purchased, never downloaded any content or done anything else. And so again, you want to break this down by audience type because different audiences might act differently. And then you actually want to look like, are they opening and clicking on my email? You know, what's the recency? Like how often do they come back to the site? You want them to constantly be coming back to the site. Then you want to see like how much content are they actually consuming on your blog? And then you want to see the time spent. And the more time people spend, the more likely they are to give you more information. And you can actually use that with like different tools to be like, okay, if you spent like at least like 10 minutes on my site, then I'm going to pop this like pop-up up for them to ask them to take the next step with me. Then you might break it down further. You might want to look at your email type, like is it a nurture campaign or is it a newsletter? If you're doing text message campaigning, I know a lot of B2C customers like that and that works really well for them, then you want to see like what's the campaign, SMS campaign that's kind of driving it. And then you want to be able to look at the categories. You know, like what's the category of each of the blogs that they're reading? What are they actually looking at? What do they care about? Then, you know, the people who are leads. So these are people who we have like the first name, last name, email, company, maybe a phone number if you're lucky. Other purchasers for B2C brands. So that's a bit more transactional. And so someone maybe bought a pair of shoes or they signed up and did one trip with you in Jack's case. So basically for this, you want to look again at the emails. But your emails should be different. The emails that are going out to your leads and purchasers should be different than the ones going to your subscribers. So bonus points if you have different email tracks based on people. Then if you look at the number of form submissions or the number of purchases that they're actually doing, like are they multi-purchasers? Are they like looking, you know, webinars, ebooks, like what are they actually reading and looking at and consuming on my site? And again, you can break it down by the same thing, like the email type, you know, SMS campaigns or the categories of what they're consuming. I have one more. Oh, there it is. And then the last one is the multi-purchase in customers. And that's what the next talk is going to talk about today. So if you haven't registered yet, make sure you register for Liz Gill's talk. She's really great. Oh my God, I went backwards. But you know, she'll go into this in more detail, but you basically want to get people to do the second purchase to the multi-purchase if they're a customer. For B2C, for B2B brands, you want to talk about like case studies or like doing a webinar together. Like what are more ways that you can engage with your customers from like a marketing standpoint that also will drive your website forward. And again, to like break down how everything's working here, you want to look at email type, you want to look at categories. Now that you have people logging into your app, if you're B2B, you can actually look at user roles and look at admins versus users, or you know who's more advanced than others in their industries. And then from a B2C perspective, you want to also look at the loyalty programs and see like what stage of the loyalty program is everyone in and how are their behavior different based on that. So a lot of analytics, but the good thing is you can easily set these up like one time. You can just have a dashboard that kind of keeps track of the KPIs that you want to track. And then, you know, you can just, it's like a lot of hours at the beginning and then it's kind of like a heartbeat moving forward. And that's my conclusion to Jack's question. Sorry, it was a whole mouthful.
Jack, do you have any follow-up questions from here?
No.
Or how are you feeling on your side?
I'm all set. Well, a little overwhelmed because I have like a laundry list of things to do now, but excited to have some direction. So.
Yeah, I would start like as broad as possible. And then as you like figure things out from the broader and broader and like, you know, whenever the needle doesn't move forward next, then that's when you like go down another level. Okay. So you don't have to be like this intense to start out. Like I would just start out from like ads organic and like all of their impressions and everything. And then maybe break it back down by ad network or like same thing, just like pick one. And then as you build over time and learn, you can do more.
Awesome. That's helpful. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jack.
Yay. All right, now we're gonna get to the experimentation part. This is gonna be fun. So basically, A/B tests, they're awesome because you can actually see how your audience is going to respond really well to like which type of content. The reason why I asked how many visits you're getting a month is because the A/B test length is very much determined about how much traffic you're getting, because it basically has to have enough of a difference between version A and version B for your audience to be able to pick the winner by like interacting and engaging with you. So let's go into it. All right, so to plan an A/B test, make sure you define a test hypothesis. It could be like, oh, people who like come in from Instagram are more likely to buy shoes than they are to buy evening dresses. Or it can be like, oh, people who are coming to my website are more likely to like try and talk to Drift than they are to like do a webinar or form. So that's an example. Then you want to define the test runtime. And I like to just like put this together as in case you don't get enough confidence, which we'll go into next, as like, okay, like if I run it for more than 2 months, whatever is doing better is just going to be the winner. Or else you might be running A/B tests forever and then you never move the needle forward and then things just fall apart. So I like to like define a test runtime or a confidence is being reached by my tool. And a lot of these tools will help you figure it out too. Then you want to figure out the goal, because what's the point of running a test if you don't know what you're trying to get out of it? And that could be subscribers, it could be webinars, it can be purchases. whatever you want. The only thing I would say is that the closer your goal is to the actual page you're running the A/B test on, the more likely you are to actually figure out who the winner is going to be. Because if it's like, oh, I want them to purchase after seeing this A/B test and my purchase cycle is 4 months, then we're never going to figure out who won until like 4 months from now, which is lame. So instead, I would just like do a lot of these micro conversions and like work up to the purchase. And then you can like overall in 4 months, you have multiple tests and you have more purchases too. And then you want to define the confidence level. So like a lot of these apps and stuff like that you run through, they might like define like a 95% confidence, but you might be like, oh, 75% is fine. And we can talk about more of that later. I just want to kind of speeding through this because I'm running out of time. And then you want to just like start broad and get more narrow. So the broader it is, or the major differences there are, like the more likely you're going to have a winner of an A/B test. Versus if you're just changing like a button color of one small button on like one part of your page, you're not going to really see much of those results. And then where to run A/B tests, I'm just going to show you this really quick and then move on. B2B is basically wherever like people can fall off the funnel. So I would say like homepage, your product pages, pricing pages, and your sign-up flow. In B2C, is your homepage, your category pages, product detail pages or PDPs, your cart, and the payment flow there. And again, I'm going to send these slides out so you can actually have all of them. So don't worry about writing them all down. Okay, so now we're going to talk about re-engagement real quick. And so basically, once if someone has signed up or giving you their email address once, or they come to your site and left, you want to make sure they can come back to you. So let's talk about this. The first thing is an email nurture program. Obviously, you have the email, you can email them back. Email is still one of the best tools from an ROI perspective. I think like marketers, like 50% of marketers or more said that email is the best thing that they use. So always do email. Also do newsletters, they're really great. And then ad retargeting, which we'll get through in a minute later. But basically, you know, all those Instagram ads that follow you around forever, those YouTube ads after you've looked at something and you've been to the website, like that's the ad retargeting that you see. It makes you look really big, and it's actually the cheapest version of an ad you could buy because it's your audience. You're actually not auctioning like in a bid against other people because it's your specific audience list to your business. The content syndication is really good if you like want to write content on other people's pages or like pay like someone like TechTarget to host your content. That's another good way. Like if you know a bunch of your audience is like on some other site, then and they're all there, then you should write content there too, and you can find them again. And then also like your loyalty programs from like a B2C perspective. Like how do I keep people coming by and making more and more purchase programs and incentivizing them to buy more with me. Okay, so email best practices real quick. You want to get a 2% click-through rate that's average across the board. B2C is probably higher. I've worked in IT and we get excited when we get like a 0.5% click. It's sad, but still works. And just like take your leads and contacts like on a journey. Like don't give them all the information at once. So I would say like for a nurturer, just like do 4 to 5 different emails of like your main points of your value proposition to them. A/B test your subject lines, more A/B testing, yay. The bigger your list that you have, the more likely you are to see a winner from the A/B test. And also do some cross-platform and browser testing just to make sure your email looks okay. It's never going to look good in Outlook. That's like always the email joke. No, I'm joking with myself, but you can use email on Acid. They do a pretty good job of showing you how it looks in every email. And you know, just make sure that it looks good enough for what you want. And like use some ready-made templates. My favorite is reallygoodemails.com. It was made by HubSpot. And it just shows you everyone's like best emails. And you can just choose what you want and build yours to look like that. My favorite. So ad retargeting best practices. You want to do pixels versus email addresses. So there's 2 ways to do retargeting. The one is the pixel that you can get through your tag manager, and it says they came to a certain page, you want to show them a certain ad. Another way is that if you have at least a list of 1,000 email addresses, you can upload them into Facebook or Twitter. And you know, there's tools like AdRoll and Perfect Audience, also in the resources, and they will match that email address with what the users have. And then based on that, they make like your own little email list of people. So you can look at a lot of cool customer marketing initiatives or subscribers. That's why email is best, always getting email. And the more segments you do, the better. So because you don't want someone who like went on your pricing page to get the same ad as someone who only came to your page once and went to their homepage. So you want to make different pixels and different audiences and try to like rate them in priority so someone can like move through almost like an ad drip campaign. And then always A/B test your ad copy and creatives. Again, this depends on your budget and like how many people are seeing your ad, but at least do 2 to see like what's working better, or like run one for a month and run another for a month if you don't have the big budget to like test them all against each other. But the more testing you do, the better, because like the more you realize what's resonating with your audience. And make some scroll stoppers. Like I want some sweet videos, or like at least something. Like even Canva has like GIFs and like video ads for like your Instagram that you could do. And so like do that. It's really easy to do. It actually makes people want to stop scrolling and actually pay attention and engage with you. Okay, this is a more advanced topic on personalization. I put this here in case people are really advanced and want to work on it, but we are like at 3:43 and we have until 3:45. So there's a lot of questions. I can skip this part. If people want personalization, then we can do this part. Choose your own adventure.
I think we're okay to kind of continue forward with this for now, and then just like with the goal of like wrapping up in like the next 5 minutes, if that works for you.
Cool. All right. Perfect. I'm going to run through this because I'm sure a bunch of you like aren't into this yet. But personalization is basically sending the right message to the right person at the right time. The very baby version of it is like those pop-up ads that you see everywhere that kind of slide in and out. The like better version of it is like websites that actually change the entire experience based on like who you are and like what you're looking at. My favorites are slide-ins because they don't interrupt you. The bounce pop-ups, I know everyone hates them, but they actually work really well. Like I've had like 6% conversion rates on just bounce pop-up messages where people were leaving and they gave the email address because they wanted a webinar and ebook. Info bars are good for if you're doing like webinars, events, or like really special events or like that have coupon codes on them. They're like the big strips that go across. And then making specific landing pages is really good because once someone came to that landing page and you don't have, you know, the money to like maybe buy like a personalization tool, often Monster is really good. It's actually pretty cheap. You can say like, oh, they came to page A, so if they did that, I'm going to email them content B. And the full experiences, that's like for the bigger companies of the world who are like really ready to like have an entire marketing team do this. But you can basically change your entire website based on who someone is and what they're doing. It's pretty cool. Just so you know. So when I do like a personalization framework, I just like to figure out like the audience, the interaction point, like what's the content that I have and what's the experience that I want them to show. And you can just basically start with one, like maybe you start with your largest audience and you just say, oh, I just want to slide in like a webinar slide in whenever they're like read more than 2 blogs, and or send me a bounce message. If they're like done reading a particular blog, I'm going to show them a webinar that's related to it. And that's it. You did one, yay. Again, I use Opt-in Monster, and that's going to be in the resources that you'll see when you get the slides. Okay, so this is going to be really quick. Let's put it all together. I did one for B2B and one for B2C because I love both of you. So basically, this is what a journey through interaction looks like if you're B2C. You're going to come to a website, maybe you search for it on organic search, and they came to your homepage. Cool. They were about to leave, and they see a bounce message that says, see an offer for a coupon. They're like, oh, sweet, I want that. So they submit their email. Now you have their email address, winning. So let's say they leave, but you have their email address and you know they have the coupons. You can actually send them an Instagram retargeting ad if you know who they are. You do this at scale with pixels. And then maybe they like go to Instagram, they see the thing on Instagram. You can't really tell, but like maybe then they come back on your site and they're like on a product page and they're browsing. They add something to their cart. Oh yeah. Maybe they like actually left and they never bought it, but you have their email address and you know who they are because they haven't cleared their cookie browsers. So you can basically send them an email with their product that they added to the cart and tell them to buy it. And they get really happy. You can auto add the coupon if you're fancy, and you can send them an email about the loyalty program, and they made the purchase. You win. But you see, like if you didn't have any of this other stuff, then you would have lost them on the homepage. So that's why you need like a full experience that works together. I'm going to do it for B2B again, real quick. So click on a LinkedIn ad about an upcoming webinar, my favorite thing to do. Maybe they're about to leave, but you see a bounce message about a blog. So maybe they're not ready to give you their full email address right now, but you're like, oh, read this blog about it. Okay, cool, I'm going to do that. Then they leave after they read the blog, but you can also retarget them again through Instagram, again for the same webinar, and you can actually like collect leads from Instagram, which is super cool, and you grab their first name, last name, and email from there, and you send it to them. Then you can send them an email about the webinar, email with the recording, blah, 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 what you normally do. And then maybe they come back to the homepage. This time you can't recognize them because they gave their email on Instagram and not on your own website, but maybe they start engaging with your chatbot that's there. And then the chatbot can actually get them to sign up because chatbots are cool and awesome. And so you can basically have them book a meeting with sales and learn more. And then once you're there, it's up to sales to sell them. Get it, sales, let's do it. Cool. So this is really overwhelming, but just do it one step at a time. So what I normally like to do is just like pick one topic or one audience and say, I'm going to just like run through like one flow for like this entire thing. And maybe we don't even care about personalization. Maybe we'll just stop at re-engagement. Just do 4. You're going to do great. Just start. Starting is good. And you can slowly just build and build over time. Yay, we did it. Awesome. All right, sorry. It's 3:47 and I did it. Feel free to contact me. You can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, or Twitter. You can also email me. I call myself the Madonna of Marketing. If you just put my name in anywhere, you'll pretty much pop up and see me, because my parents were really creative with my spelling.